to the Nerdentials podcast, starring your hosts, Joe Tweedy, Matthew Johnson, Nick Thomas, and Lynn Dudgeon.
What's new, guys? It's been, 3 weeks?
Oh, man. Yeah, 3 weeks. Yep.
Nick?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
3 weeks? I see you're sporting some new, not shades, but, frames.
Yeah, apparently I found out I'm blind as a bat.
But only a slightly blind bat. Not full-blown bat.
No, I actually have to make clicking noises to navigate around the house.
Yeah?
And to catch the bugs that are flying around my house.
Oh, okay, good. I thought it was more serious than that. I thought, you could, not see trees or street lights or oncoming cars, for that matter.
That's why I have a very big bumper.
That's good. How's it going, Lynn?
Great.
Yeah.
Things have been great. Yeah. Been working a ton. Doing a lot of, I guess, team gaming with friends.
Team gaming. Now, are we talking about in the virtual
squad.
world?
Yeah, squad gaming.
Nice. What particular games?
We've been doing the Fortnite a lot recently.
Nice.
I gotta say, I got sucked in.
I'm
pretty sure if we had PUBG though, I'd be sucked into that one as well.
Yeah, there is that, for sure. And I tried it a little bit, and I had a lot of fun with just the few rounds that I played on it, even though I never made it past 80th place. At least on the Battle Royale edition, where it's, I don't know what modes have you been playing?
Just Battle Royale.
Oh. Well, I haven't played it, and I literally just tried it out. I didn't really spend a lot of time getting into it yet.
You just gotta be sneaky.
Sneaky. Well, you know what? I don't have a good segue for right here, so let's just kick things off, shall we?
Segue.
Awkward segue. Well, guys, welcome to Nerdentials, your weekly dose of the nerdy essentials covering film, TV, video games, and comic books. I got it, guys. We've been off for 3 full weeks, but I still have it. We're here to talk about the latest and greatest. It's going to be a little different this week, though. We're finishing up our 2017 year in review, actually, and we're finally hitting our video game list. But first, let me introduce the crew for the night. I am your host, Joe Tweeden, and off to my side here is a Nick Thomas. How's it going?
Fantastic. Glad to be back.
Only fantastic. As always.
Phantasmagorical.
No, don't get weird on me. That's
yeah.
I'm not. It's too early in the night. And additionally, across from me, we have the Lynn Dudgeon. How are you?
Back again.
We missed everyone.
It's been a while, and unfortunately, we are short-handed. One nerd, the Matthew Johnson, is not with us tonight.
The Bleach got another one.
That is too dark for right now, man. A lot of us. And let me pull back the curtains for the audience a little bit. We've a lot of us have dealt with some medical things. Each one of us is just, trips in and out of the thing. Everyone's doing fine now, but man, it's been hectic. My wife is at the very end of her pregnancy. I don't know what you call it, the tow line, if you will, for carrying the load of our new child out into the world. She's done. She's ready. We're ready to have our new.
Yeah, towards the end of it, it seems like my wife was always like, "Get this thing out of me."
Yes, they become very, very vocal, Very
It
angry.
turns from being a delivery of a pregnancy to an exorcism. But
That is a dramatic description of it, but yes. Some of them do get to the exorcism level.
I almost sprayed hard apple cider everywhere.
Please don't projectile your beverage.
No, I have 2 computers in front of me. That would be bad.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, it's been a very busy couple weeks, guys. I am very excited to be back here on the podcast. Well, let's just get into the meat of this, guys.
The meat.
I guess. Well, real quick, it's been 3 weeks, and we don't need to make this a super long segment, but before we get to our top 5, why don't we just quickly brush each other up, quickly, we don't spend too much time on it, on what everyone's been watching or playing in the last 3 weeks, because, let me tell you guys, I've watched a handful of things. My New Year's resolution, if you'll recall, if any of the audience out there has listened to the last 2 episodes about movies and TV, I felt a little lackluster in my ability to watch things. And so my New Year's resolution is to kick it into overdrive and try to watch a lot more things and catch up on things that were recommended. So let's throw it over to Lynn for a second. If there's any games or new shows or anything fresh, it's been 3 weeks, so you can look back at your 3 weeks and share with us what you maybe have dived into to escape a little bit.
I've just been mostly just gaming. I really haven't done any TV or movie. Well, I take that back. I really do take that back, I guess. We've been we stopped binging Deadpool, which is a little weird.
Repeat watching?
But, yeah, over and over and over again. And we've actually switched to just Thor Ragnarok over and over and over and over and over again.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, man. It is worth the watch.
That's on my very next movie to watch.
The comedy value in it is worth it alone. Because for whatever reason, Matt Damon is in it.
Matt Damon.
Spoiler warning.
Yeah, well, I didn't tell you who he plays or the context of his character, but he's in it. And just, there is...
I think you'd make a great Adam Warlock.
Like I said, we've been watching Thor Ragnarok, but we also have, what is that other one? A ton of Teen Titans Go on Hulu.
Nice.
Went back and watched all of it because kids.
Hey, your kids are into it, so that's cool,
Right? And I feel like they know both DC and Marvel better than I do, which makes me sad.
Sad, but you can be proud about that still.
I can, because I don't know, Robin brought up a superhero, and Emmett turned to her and goes, "That's not DC, Mama, that's Marvel." and then
Nice.
Lincoln goes, "Gosh, don't you know your superheroes?"
Nice.
It was a great moment. It really was. And then she, brought it to my attention.
Hey, look at it this way. At least they're not obsessed with, and I'm not upset about this, but at least you're not rewatching DC superhero girls.
Oh, jeez.
Over and over again.
Yeah. There's a phone app game that the kids have where it's like Lego DC cars and stuff. And we have little mini episodes of that show on there. And I'll catch Emmett watching it every once in a while.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And then, I've been going back through my game library and playing of the large quantities of games, trying to get back into them.
Nice.
But, I went back and tried to play a couple, like The Witcher, And I got into the save file, and I was like, oh gosh, I don't remember where I'm at here.
There's a lot in that
Time to
game,
scrap.
so that could be
Yeah,
kind of
I
hard
was
to
like-
jump back into.
Time to scrap it and get back in, because I didn't know what choices I had made, or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, that's where I'm at right there.
Nice. Nick, what have you been able to dive into in the last 3 weeks?
Quite a bit, actually. Because I spent a lot of time at home when my wife was sick after her surgery. Me and her, after her surgery, when she was feeling better, we went and watched Jumanji. And Matt was right. Freaking hilarious.
Sweet. I gotta pick that one up next.
You definitely do. It's they kept true to it and took it their own way, and I thought it was a healthy evolution of the franchise.
Nice.
I was kind of worried when The Rock took a hold of it and started going off on stuff like that, but I'm not worried about him doing that anymore after seeing that, because he's doing that, and then Rampage. I'm excited about that one too now.
Nice.
Yeah.
They can't really screw that one up because I mean Rampage didn't have any like super deep plot to it as an arcade game, so it's kind of
lies and slanderous filth. I'm joking.
I'm just saying. I mean they can kind of do whatever they want with it at this point.
Yeah. Games. Been playing a lot of Elite Dangerous. Been getting into that. That's been fun. Playing a lot of LOL recently. League of Legends.
LOL.
Yeah.
You hear that, Lynn?
Me and Lynn had a nice conversation about it last night.
Well, we attempted to, and then
and I got locked
somebody
out of the room.
misclicked.
Yeah.
I read that in the chat that I accidentally locked our video chat, and he couldn't get back in. My bad.
TV wise, we were down without Netflix or Hulu for a while because we were broke. But we still had our internet, so Tubi TV has this. It's a free app on the Roku. So I caught up on a lot of anime, like old school anime.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Very nice.
What's so funny? He's laughing at us.
Oh,
Lynn.
Robin came out and she's jacking drinks off my cup.
Oh, if you're
Stealing my beers.
Your massive beverage.
Yeah. It's just pretty much it. And doing a lot of school. A lot of school. It's midterms right now, so.
Wait,
Nice.
Can we rewind for a second?
Yeah.
When you're talking old school anime, what are you talking?
Yu Yu Hakusho, Lupin the Third,
There you
Cowboy
go.
Bebop, Samurai Champloo.
Name drops. There you go.
Shameless.
A Trendy Blood is probably one of my favorites.
Ooh. What about Trigun? Any of that?
Trigun's great. Yeah.
I like
Can't
me
go
some
wrong.
Vash the Stampede.
The only thing I can't get into is freaking Naruto.
Does that really count as old school though?
No,
I
but
feel
everyone
like Naruto is new.
says so many good things about it, and I'm just like, I can't get over the guy's voice. It's like nails on a chalkboard.
Believe it.
Well, guys. I mean, so that's what you've done last 3 weeks, Nick. Mostly. Me, I got caught up and wrapped up a little bit of what I had talked about in my top picks for 2017 for TV. So just to recap, I finished season 2 of Travelers. Unbelievably amazing. They wrapped up season 2 to where they could have ended it. Like it could be over with the way they ended it, but it's kind of, you're so invested in the characters, you're like, no, I need to know how they're going to deal with the next phase of their life. Like, what are they going to do now? So, like, it could drop, but they're going to come back with a season 3. There's no question about that. The internet's demanding it. I looked at a bunch of posts and blogs about it.
Well, the main character's busy.
Eric McCormack, well, he already should have finished the revival anniversary season of Will and Grace, and he is the lead producer for Travelers.
Oh, okay.
It's actually his project, so if the fans want it bad enough and he enjoys doing it, he'll come back for it. Let's see. Magicians, fully caught up. Season 3, just the first couple episodes, it would have made my... Well, no, sorry. Season 2 would have hit my full list. It would have hit my top 5 for sure. Had I been fully caught up at the time.
I'm on episode 6 of season 1.
What do you mean? Like you haven't watched it at all?
No.
Okay.
You guys were talking about it, and I
Matt's caught
heard
up.
it.
You said you started... Well, you told me maybe you had started it when we had talked about it. Okay. Yeah, dude. So, like, season 2 is very world building. Sorry, season 1 is very world building, and if you're still hooked, it's just keep going with it, because season 1 finale, insane cliffhanger. Season 2, a whole Deus Ex Machina of a plot kind of pulls everyone somehow back into another season, and which you can guess, obviously, not every... how... You know, it keeps moving along anyway. So season 3 has been a lot of fun. We're getting really into more of the characters. I'm on the most current episode 4 or 5 of season 3. I've been watching them each week as they come out. So that's what what's kind of current and what I've caught up with. And as a recap, Nick, in less than a week, I binged all 2 seasons of Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Oh,
and
good man.
It's phenomenal.
Let me just say, of my very short and quick review is it is the most fun I have had binging a TV show, and I don't remember how long or if I've ever enjoyed binging a show as much as this one. All the points you brought up, not just the nostalgic for Evil Dead, because I'm not a huge, I don't remember a lot of the movies, or I've only watched the original, but the show...
What I recommend
to
kind of catch up where they're... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but the show as it is self-contained enough that you don't have to have been a fan of The Evil Dead to enjoy this show. It's enjoyable to any newcomer that enjoys Bruce Campbell, narcissistic hero, and blood everywhere. There's only a few moments where I can say I was like kind of grabbing my mouth like that's almost a little too gross for very different reasons. I would like to recall fans that have seen the show, just let me put it this way, the morgue scene I don't think I can recover from. What did he call it? He said I just dealt with not a hysterectomy, was it? What I forget. He used a medical term for what he dealt with. That scene was a little horrific for me, but I enjoy the fountains of blood in that show. And anytime in the early seasons when he's chainsawing one of the Deadites, and like Pablo or Kelly are just getting showered with blood, those are the moments when I'm just like. I'm in pure joy and laughter at just their stunned faces while blood is raining on them.
It's like you're looking back and forth. Are we watching a show, or is this a Gallagher show? Are they front row in Gallagher?
They didn't bring their trash bags.
Are they sledgehammering watermelon again? That's some deep red watermelon, by the way. But anyway, so
I recommend if you want to just kind of like have it linked together with it.
Mm-hmm.
Army of Darkness did a really good job of recapping what happened in the movies.
Okay.
And then going into the Deadite Curse.
Okay. I saw all the references, and I knew what they were referencing, but anyway, fantastic show. And just what I'm currently watching, so I'm ready for Season 3 of Ash vs. Evil Dead, which is February 23rd or 20-something. I'm ready for that.
Deserve a bleep, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready for that one. And I'm currently checking out Altered Carbon, a new Netflix original series that came out a couple days ago. I'm 2 episodes in. It is some of the best like cyberpunk future noir world I've seen. The budget for this seems like it's probably pretty decent. The CG is incredibly realistic. It's got a very Blade Runner feel to the world, and I'd like you guys to give the pilot a try, and so we can talk more in depth on that show, because
When is that releasing?
it's out now. It's on Netflix. The whole season, 10 episodes on Netflix. You can binge it tonight if you like. I can't guarantee I'll be caught up to you if you start binging it, but they're hour-long episodes, and it's 10 episodes. Really good. It's kind of like it's a murder mystery for the opening. Character that gets revived after 250 years of being imprisoned in a digital realm, because it's the way it works is the government has this storehouse of shells, and basically human bodies without souls or consciousness are called shells. And every person at the age of a newborn baby or the age of 1 gets what's called, I think it's a disc. I forget. I'll have to continue watching it. But basically, their entire consciousness, their whole essence of what makes them is stored on this disc that is inserted into your spine, your spinal cord in the back of your neck. So if that gets shot or destroyed, you're permanently dead. And the rich live off of, pulling that disc out and buying what's called an upgrade to their shell, which is just buying a younger, nicer body. It's literally, human bodies are used as shells, and people live in these little discs. Their consciousness. So it's super sci-fi. This guy who was a war criminal was sentenced to imprisonment for an undetermined amount of time, and so 250 years later, he gets pulled out by a super rich guy that wants his expertise because he is like a highly advanced, genetically enhanced assassin. This rich guy wants his expertise to find out who murdered him, because this rich guy got murdered, and because the super rich are able to constantly update their consciousness like a backup, like a digital computer backup, and someone managed to erase the last 48 hours prior to his death, so he has no memory of who killed him or why. So it's really interesting. The main character's got some good humor. It's super adult, guys. This is like HBO level. There's full-blown nudity, cyberpunk, futuristic, and really well written out drama. Yeah. So that's called Altered Carbon. It's out now, and I'm currently I'm 3 episodes deep into the film to TV adaptation of Taken. It's actually turning. I know I'm done. This is the last thing I'll mention. I'm actually very intrigued. It's pretty well done. It's a prequel to the films of Liam Neeson, and I'm willing to finish out the 10 episode season 1, and they're actually in season 2 now. So it was good enough to do a season 2.
I enjoyed the hell out of it.
So I'll come back with my thoughts. We can talk about it more in depth once I've finished out or got caught up with you. So I've had 3 weeks, and I've been trying to. There's probably a couple more I've missed. Here's what I've also vowed to do on top of watching more content this year. I'm gonna start tracking the list of the shows that I've watched and completed, so that when we get to our year end, I can properly pick the ones I want to put in the list. For our top picks.
Nice.
Speaking of top picks, did you have something else you wanted to say?
No.
That was my segue right there.
Segue.
All right. Here comes the segue, guys. Let's do our top 5 video game choices for 2017. All right, guys. All right, my fancy digital gaming gurus. Let's shoot on over down to Lynn and kick things off with our number 5 top pick for 2017 in video gaming. Lynn, what you got?
My number 5 was the Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age remake.
That is a lengthy title.
Yep, came out, what was it, July sometime, I think like the 14th. And they added to it up the graphics a little bit, and it definitely plays like I remember it, and I love it.
Nice.
I know it's a remake, but it feels new, especially on the PS4.
Nice. So did they do any extensive overhaul or just kind of graphical upgrades?
Upgrades like smoothing. They smoothed out combat a bit. They added in some storyline bits, a few bosses here and there. They changed the beastery and the hunts, which is kind of nice.
Nice.
Added a couple weapons into and a couple pieces of armor. But
Sweet.
definitely my number 5 for 2017.
2017. That's right. Nicholas, you're number 5, sir.
Uh,
Are you changing it? Because you got your list here.
I know. I was pulling up the list to look at it. What did I put on there? I don't know if it was actually released this year, but that's when I played it.
The expansion to that game was 2017, yeah.
Yeah, the Necromancer expansion for Diablo 3. Because I remember playing the original one, and then number 2 came out with the Necromancer, and that was my jam, Necromancer and number 2. And it wasn't the same feel, but it was a healthy evolution, and I enjoyed it very much. Just they added a similar feel, kind of, because you were able to summon an army of skeletons and golems and crap, and it's just rule over all the dungeons in Diablo. I like those hack and slash.
Did they add any campaign storyline to that?
A little bit,
that expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
It was like, what was it, like 6 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's pretty decent.
Mm-hmm. But you start the game over when you want to make the Necromancer, so you start from the beginning. So it's playing the game through again, so it adds a little bit more playthrough ability. Same when they brought in the Crusader. Mm-hmm. I've played it every time they came out with a new champion. I've created a new one, so it adds to the replayability of the game.
Nice.
See, I own that for the PC and the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Hey, you're on PC. We should play it together.
I put quite a few hours into that, Nick. I've got over 100 hours on Diablo 3, and I did the Crusader. Yeah.
Huh?
Yep.
It's definitely fun.
Some good times on that. Well, let me throw this out there. Matt Johnson did give us his list, and so I wanted to just kind of insert his picks as we move along. Some of these I can speak on. Some of them I won't be able to, so we'll just kind of honorably mention them as decent picks. I can briefly speak on Matt's number 5, and that is Call of Duty World War II. Now, I'm not a huge Call of Duty fan in general. Matt's enjoyed most of them. He's played all of them at least. But this really does kind of go back to the classic Call of Duty in the sense of relying a little more on skill and less on just the plethora of automatic weapons, because we're going back to you need to find a med kit system. It's no longer this, I guess in some of the last couple Call of Duties, it was more of you take cover and you kind of automatically heal, kind of almost Halo style. There was no med pack system in the last couple iterations of the game, so they kind of went a little more classic. Campaign super cinematic. I played a little bit of the campaign. Lynn,
didn't they also ground you too?
Yeah, that was something surprising. No jumping at all in the game. There was climbing. You could scale up and down out of the trenches, but there was no leaping. No jumping.
No parkour.
No parkour. I know, Nick. You're looking confused. Like, what? Why no jumping? I don't know. I think they were going back for more of that old school, original Call of Duty stuff. I don't think they had jumping in the older ones, but I'm not a Call of Duty historian, so I don't know.
I watched the Honest trailer on it. I thought it was hilarious. It's like, from the company that comes out with too many games. They go back to what they've done before. Too many boring times.
Anyway, although humor aside, and there's plenty of criticism to be thrown out, I I thought it was decent. It didn't make my list because after reflecting on all the titles I did check out for 2017, there were too many more that I had more fun with. So that was Matt Johnson's pick. I'll slide over and mention my number 5 real quick.
Well, I could kind of tell you why Matt puts that on his list. He plays generations of the same games because it's kind of a tradition with him. Kind of like, yeah. Go ahead.
No. I'm not upset what you're saying.
No. It's he's a creature of habit, and he plays them and he loves them. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, Nick. Yes, we're not gonna analyze Matt's picks here. Okay, I'm just throwing that out there.
It comes from a deep-seated issue with this. I'm joking.
Let me throw this out there. I want him to be able to be at the table to defend himself. So we're not going to analyze
making fun of him. I was joking, adding humor to the show.
I know we love the red-headed ginger. I love calling him out for what he is. He's a red-headed ginger.
Daywalker.
No. Anyway, my number 5 is actually a really great game, but this is just where it landed on my list because I have different flavor and taste on certain games. My number 5 was Resident Evil 7. It made the top 5 list because it's a fantastic callback to the classic nature of its franchise. It went back to some truly like horror style elements. I think, Lynn, you can correct me if I'm wrong because I know it's on your list later and I'll let you speak more on it so I won't talk too much on this. But is this the first time they're going to a first-person perspective in the franchise?
It is the first. No.
Or,
no, it's not.
Or did they do it in the first one?
No.
Nintendo Wii, they did a rail car first-person shooter.
Yeah.
Okay. But for full title, for like 1 through 6...
If you're talking like with the main antagonist and stuff, like...
Yeah.
This is the first time that it's first-person.
Okay, so for
Resident Evil 4, there were times where you could go first person,
right.
But it wasn't a full. It was still a third person over the shoulder shooter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
And then the other ones were all like fixed. Cameras over the shoulder over here,
or fixed. Yeah.
You run down the hallway, and then when you go around the corner, the camera shoots around the corner, and then you run down the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, most of the time, it would shoot around the corner, and you'd be trying to run that same way, and your guy would turn around and run back through. You're like, damn it!
Yep.
Right.
And you'd run right back into a zombie or a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember some of those. So it makes my list because it just does a really good job. The mechanics are smooth. The puzzles are deep. I in general, I had a lot of fun with it. So that's why it makes my list. We'll circle around some of these other titles because all of us kind of picked a couple similar titles. So I'll let you guys speak on them more when it gets around to you. But let's hit up our number 4. Nick, let's bounce over to you for number 4 real quick.
To me, I feel so special. Number 4, Rare Replay.
Say what?
Yeah.
I guess that qualifies. It did release.
They released it this year. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Xbox got a hold of Rare and released a Rare Replay, big bundle, all the original games. A re-release. Some of them had some advanced upgrades on like the graphics and stuff. And I'm a basic bitch. I love my retro games. I've told you this.
Yes.
Hey, I enjoyed that collection too. Not ashamed.
Playing some GoldenEye and stuff. Yeah.
I loved Perfect Dark. I loved the first Perfect Dark.
Now, what titles weren't included in that? Like, did they have Banjo-Kazooie in there?
There's a lot on there.
They had them. No, they had Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah.
What about Conker's Bad Fur Day? Was it in there?
Yep, that's on there.
Oh.
I remember.
And it was in the original version.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't the redo that they brought back out for the Xbox.
Oh, that weird one where they tried to do the Call of Duty multiplayer in there?
Yeah. I got the list right here. Jetpack, Lunar Jetman.
I love
Attic
Jetpack.
Attack, Saberwolf, Underworld, spelt weirdly, Nightlore, Gunfight, Slalom, RC Pro-Am,
Hey, they had
Cobra
Jets,
Triangle. Go ahead.
Jet Force Gemini.
Yep.
So good.
Snake Rattle and Roll, Solar Jetman, Digger T-Rock, Battletoads, RC Pro-Am 2, Battletoads Arcade, Killer Instinct Gold, Blast Corps, Banjo-Kazooie, Jet Force Gemini, Perfect Dark, the remastered version, Banjo-Tooie, Conquers Bad Fur Day, Grabbed by the Ghoulies, Cameo, Perfect Dark Zero, Viva Pinata, Jetpack Refueled, Viva Pinata Trouble in Paradise, and Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts.
Oh man.
Yeah, dude.
All classic games we grew up with that we loved to play and spent endless hours in.
Viva
30 years of
Pinata.
Rare.
Oh yeah.
And it's hard not to throw that on the list because it's everything you want from your childhood. It's all right there.
That's a nostalgia overload.
Yeah.
Faux show. Hey, Lynn. What is your number 4?
I threw Horizon Zero Dawn at my number 4.
I so badly want to give that a try. I have to wait till I get a PlayStation.
It is. I love the open world on it, the hunt aspect, the large, I'd say, plethora of arrow choices you can make, or bomb choices, or taglines, or traps, and then you're not stuck to one way to take your targets down. There's many ways you can take your targets down, and you got a skill tree. You level up. You can choose to be either a melee brawler. You can be a ranged assassin. You can be that super stealthy, nothing but traps, because they even put a perk in there where you can pick your traps back up, which is very nice.
Nice.
And then the whole post-apocalyptic feel to it. It gets you wondering, how did Earth, or how did the world turn into this, and where did it go? And it keeps you coming back for more.
Now, is it safe to say that it's also a gorgeous game?
Yes, indeed. You start off, the environment's very northern, like mountainous terrain with snow, and then you can, you go into the next area, it's desert, plateaus everywhere, thunderbirds, everything. And then you go into a swamp area, marsh, and it's just that their art team, their design team was in overdrive, and I'm very appreciative of it.
Nice.
It's pretty if nothing else.
Yeah. So, on to the next one. I will briefly mention Matt's number 4 was Tom Clancy's Wildlands, Ghost Recon Wildlands. And I'm only going to spend 2 seconds on it because I did not play the full version. So, it looked like a lot of fun. A lot of options for customizability. I didn't get to go in tandem on the multiplayer thing, so I can't speak on that. But it looks like it was a game that had a lot of opportunity for fun. Off-roading, super huge open world, kind of one of the first of its kind for at least the Ghost, at least for Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon series. Third-person shooter, a lot of fun. So that was Matt's number 4.
I loved how jacked up the vehicle mechanics were, though.
Yeah, that was in the beta, and according to Matt, they changed that. But yeah, during the beta, you could barrel roll down a mountain and be perfectly fine. I was just like,
yeah, it almost reminded me of the horse mechanics in Skyrim.
Yeah, Skyrim had
hold the torch and go up straight up a hill.
Has amazing horse mechanics. Yes, those horses could off-road ridiculously. So, over to my number 4. This, for no fault of its own, other than that there were a handful of titles that were just so much better. And in an era where we're playing the game of what's better, because so many things are good both in TV and movies, specifically TV. It's just like there's so many good shows coming out. The ones that stand out are the ones that just happen to be better or slightly better than the other one, because there's a lot of good stuff. I feel the same way with a handful of games this year, our 2017 picks anyway. So number 4, Mass Effect Andromeda. Horrifically criticized for being and kind of a glitchy, unfinished product, and not made by the original studio that gave us number 1 through 3 of the franchise. The game was not overall a standout title as far as the franchise is concerned. It still had it had a lot to offer. It was a super deep RPG. It had a lot of explorable places, an in-depth customization for your character, lots of weapons and armor, and it was in the universe that I have fun and enjoy a lot of as far as my sci-fi gaming. So I was able to look past some of the character animations and the facial movements when they were talking weren't as crisp and polished as previous Mass Effect titles, and they did patch a lot of that in the following month or two after the game came out. They did manage to fix what they could, but there was so much heat on it. It's just one of those titles that kind of lost traction because it came out slightly toasted on its edges, you know. It bottom line though, it made my list because kind of out of by default and or lack of amount of games that I checked out last year, there weren't enough games to fill a larger list. But I'm not docking Mass Effect for that either. I truly did enjoy Mass Effect, and it's one title that would have made my top 5 either way. So I'll leave it at that.
I got to play a little bit of it. I enjoyed it too. My friend Chris owns it, and he was like, "Here, play." Well, I'm gonna go. I had to go to run some errands. He came back 3 hours later. I was just engrossed in it. I liked the battle mechanics of it. It was a little bit different. I haven't played any other Mass Effects, and it was kind of a easy jumping point. I wasn't lost in the storyline or anything. So
well, that's cool to hear. I mean, I would highly recommend if you ever wanted to revisit the franchise. Number 2 is a good starting point. Just to they kind of worked out their kinks. Number 1 is fantastic for story, but it's not the greatest mechanically, and some of the mechanics are a bit slow paced. Number 2 is more of a shooter, but the whole trilogy is a fantastic story as far as the writing goes. So
that same friend Chris got tired of me saying I haven't played them, so he paid for 4 months of EA Pass so I could play them all.
Oh, I hope you hop into them. Yeah. If anything, at least play the main campaign portion of it, you know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's my 4. Let's swing back on down to Lynn, and let's hit our number 3 next.
Lynn.
Yeah. All right. So, got another RPG on my list. It's the JRPG Persona 5.
Heard so many things about that.
You can't go wrong with a JRPG.
Right? I've owned 2 through 5 now and played all of them, and I've loved the series. I love the premise of the games, the personas themselves, and then their ties to the tarot card signs, which is nice. And who doesn't like a turn-based RPG? It's something we grew up on. I love it.
They're easy and fun to get sucked up into.
It also has the life simulator aspect to it, so you have to figure out which tarot card sign you're going to dedicate yourself to further advance to gain certain perks throughout your school career. And if you make wrong decisions and don't choose the correct personas to follow or advance, you lose out on certain things, and it makes it tougher in the dungeons as you go through. And I mean, you have they actually put hard timelines in. Like, you have by this date to complete dungeon, otherwise it's end of story.
Wow.
And the first one is, I'd say, a good example of it. You have to complete the guy's dungeon and figure out what his deal is, and you got to figure out how to expose him in the real world, all while advancing through his dungeon and leveling up and stuff. And you don't, like, healing items are few and far in between, so it makes it tough to traverse through it. But yeah, Persona 5.
Yeah, it's a little different because it's a social based RPG.
Yes. You have to. There's people in the real world that you have to talk with, and you know they give you options like character choices, like whether you want to be snarky or understanding or knowledgeable, and depending on what choices you make, influence them. And they do musical notes as their indicators. So if you get one note, it's the all right choice. 2 notes, it's the moderate choice. Or 3 notes, excellent, you picked the right one.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
No, it was definitely an interesting and different type of RPG than I've ever played too. I know it's a PlayStation exclusive, and I got tired of them doing that. So you could find ROMs for about anything.
Yeah.
I don't always condone it, but
yeah. Have you played any of the others?
Like
3 or 4.
It was 5 and 2. I played 2.
2? Okay, so the PS1 too.
Mm-hmm.
I gotcha. Yes.
That's definitely one, Lynn, I would like to check when I finally get a PlayStation. I'd like to dive in a little bit into that. I hear
it's
people
ROMs.
Lost in it.
Everybody loves it, as far as I know.
I haven't heard anyone crap on it, so that must be a good thing.
People dump too much time into it.
Even the person that hates PlayStation said it was a good game.
Yes, you can acknowledge at least that. Anyway, guys, let's move on forward and get through to the rest of our list. Nick, number 3 for you.
Probably one of the most heated games for the whole year because of some of their choices. But I love the gameplay. I love the storyline. They fixed most of the pay-to-play issues. And
to be fair, can we point the blame to the publisher?
Yeah, 100%.
Let's call it out. EA done up.
Messed up royally when they released the pay-to-play, the pay-to-win version of Battlefront 2.
Because DICE, the company that actually developed the game, is actually a pretty decent company.
Yes. But that aside, I got into it after that pay-to-win thing and played it and loved it. I couldn't find a fault in the game at all. It reminded me of the original Battlefront 2 for PlayStation 2 and Xbox. The dogfights in the ships, the missions, they always make a really beautiful storyline, actually. And the new character they introduce you to it's a short campaign, but it's very involving, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm such a badass.
Nice, and it looks pretty, and it looks like it's got a lot of depth to it too.
Yeah, it was beautifully done.
Nice. All right, guys, we're gonna segue through this. My number 3, guys, is a wonderful little indie title that came out earlier in the year, before summer, by a company of guys known as Creative Bytes. They produced a platforming side-scrolling game known as Embers of Miram. I talked at length and reviewed this a few podcast episodes back, but just as a brief refresher, this game is really pretty. It's well designed. It displays some fairly unique mechanics where you take a single creature, kind of a cat wolf-like creature, through these forest scenes, and they have the ability to split. It's basically a unified creature that came from two other races. He can now run around as a single creature, and to accomplish a lot of the puzzles, like activating glyphs or just moving through the environment at all, you have to split your character into two glowing entities known as embers. And they're controlled each by the separate joystick, left side, right side, left ember, right ember, and you have to move your thumbs in opposite unison to move those two different, glowing embers through different puzzles. Some of it is super challenging. Some of it gets frustrating at times. I gave it between an 8 and a 9 for overall quality. It's maybe about an 8 to 9 hour game if you find all the puzzles. It was a load of fun, and the first time I've played a platform in quite a long time, at least not since Limbo, which would have been my top pick for the year that came out.
Yeah, guys, and if you want to see some of his gameplay on it, he actually made a video on it.
Yes, shameless plug. I do have a Let's Play series on our YouTube channel. Just look up Nerdentials on the YouTubes or type in the game, and ours will actually be the first one that pops up, ironically. It's a fun game. So that's my number 3. Let's shift on to number 2, and Lynn, I'm going to throw it back down to you for your number 2.
Okay.
Back to you, Lynn.
All right. Mine's actually Resident Evil 7.
Oh snap!
Yeah.
You can tell us why, because I gave a little bit of the basics, but tell us why it's so high on your list.
Oh man, I was really glad that you brought up the first person aspect of it, because the feel, it immerses you into it, and it draws you into a more closer quarters, as opposed to that third person. You feel like you're a little separated from the character, and then just the overall ambiance of the game. The whole, you feel trapped. You are trapped, and you have to escape. And
this is actually one that's VR supported, correct?
Oh yes. Oh,
and
yes. Definitely.
You've delved into that a little bit.
I do have to say a lot of the enemies in VR are a whole lot more terrifying than just seeing them on a screen. Because when it's in VR, it's right up in your face, and you might turn to try and get away, but unlike the TV version, you don't get that forewarning there. You just turn into another enemy, and it's like that whole first person aspect, like you brought up. It just adds to the terrifying effect of it.
Right.
And then design, the art of it, I find it to be on par with, I'd say, number 4. Just it's a lot more aesthetically appealing than 4, obviously, but
right.
It's just the whole dilapidated house and the environment, the ambiance, frightening, terrifying. And they're true to their game. Yep.
Nice.
And it really brings them back into it. I feel like 6, I feel like they were going off the rails a bit, but 7, they drag themselves back to the roots.
Number 2.
All right, number 2, coming in hot and heavy, and we're going to swing this around for at least 3 of the nerds, one of which is not here with us today. It was Matt Johnson's number 3 pick because, and I'll just shoot it out here now since he's not here to talk about it. Matt's number 1 is actually Resident Evil 7. I'll let him speak on that next time he comes around. But our number 2, me and Nick, both decided Destiny 2 fit the bill for our top 5 and at number 2, and that was Matt's number 3. And we'll discuss why later. But for me and Nick,
dropped a deuce on that one.
Yeah, for me and Nick, it hit our number 2. We understand, I understand the heat that's going on with Bungie having a hard time getting the things changed that need to be changed to make the fans happy again for whatever reason, the end game content. But I'm not a huge end game content player, so I'm not going to speak on that part of it. I'm going to speak on... You okay, Nick?
Yeah.
You trying to fan the flame of hair growth across your brow?
Just continue.
I keep it nice. Anyway, moving on. The game mechanics are smooth. They created a fun campaign for me. I enjoyed playing through it. Some of the changes initially were kind of surprising coming out of the third year of Destiny 1. But today, this is just our top 5 list and why we liked it. We can go balls deep into issues with Destiny 2 in our next episode, but for now, we're gonna try to make this clean cut and just say why it's number 2 and why we enjoyed it. So for number 2, I did spend more time on this game than the other ones that are lower on my list. I do love Destiny as a franchise, and I do want to see it get better from where it's at, and I see good things coming in the future. All I can do as a fan is cross my fingers. But it rose above the previous titles simply because I had more fun with it than the other titles and put more time into it. Nick, why is it your number 2?
The amount of time I put into it. They stayed faithful to the original game. I was so adamantly against it when the beta came out. Everyone remembers it.
You were vehemently against it.
Yeah, we had big, long conversations and arguments, but they seemed to fix a lot of the issues I had with it and released a very well put together game. I hear a lot of people say that it just seems like a Destiny 1.5. I'm like, no, it's a completely different game. They did a lot of things to upgrade it. They did a lot of things to make it feel new, while still keeping the feel of the original. And I just love the storyline they did with it. You get more time with the individual characters, and they're actually more personified. Like Kate is just awesome. They flushed it out a lot more for a game that we already loved as a first-person shooter.
All right, so bottom line, we had a lot of fun with it, and it's number 2 because we put more time into it than the other titles.
And it was worth the time we put into it.
And I've got
But let's make an honorable... Let's let Lynn have an honorable mention of whatever he's about to spit out right now.
I do have to say, out of all of the games on my list, this game wasn't on it, but I've probably dumped more time in than both of you. And I
don't doubt that.
My thing about the community currently on this, I'm going to make it real short. They complained about Destiny 1, and then all those things that were in Destiny 1 got taken out, and Destiny 2 tried to be its own game. And now we're at the point where everybody's complaining that they want everything from Destiny 1 back.
Yep.
So I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, it's the whole Star Wars conundrum with Episode 7 versus Episode 8, which that's another podcast altogether.
Yeah.
You can't please all the fans.
I enjoy Destiny for Destiny. I dump time into it no matter what.
And you enjoyed it enough to dump that much time into it, so it was worth it, at least.
Exactly. There you go.
I respect you for that, Lynn.
I like dying in Crucible a lot.
So that being said, let's swing around to everyone's number 1. So,
Numero uno.
Everyone's number 1 is a little different. So, let's start down at the last guy to talk. Lynn, give us your number 1.
My number 1, which I still severely enjoy.
Remember, pronunciation is everything.
Right? No, you got to mess it up on purpose.
Punctuation is everything.
Yes. It's South Park, The Fractured Butthole. Yes.
So give us a rundown
Indeed.
of why it's your number one.
Okay. It is a turn-based RPG. Yes. No, it's everything I love about South Park turned into a game.
So is this a direct sequel of Stick of Truth?
Indeed it is. They actually start off where the Stick of Truth leaves off, and it's following the new kid. So in the Stick of Truth, you're a new kid that comes to town. You create your character, and throughout the first one, you become friends with everybody in town. And then in the second one, where the elves and Cartman's faction are fighting, it picks up right there where it leaves off, but the stick has disappeared. And then come to find out a superhero faction has stole it. Cartman gets upset because they're changing the game, and they switch over to the Coon and Friends. And then
Yes.
And then Cartman in his basement has a giant dry erase board with an entire movie layout like DC does for sequels and universe changes and when they'll put in the Mysterion crossover. But so the Stick of Truth was season... What is it? I want to say season 3 through 11 or 12 of the series. They covered material from those series. And the Fractured Butthole is where the Stick of Truth left off to current. So like they have PC Principle. They've got everything from the current season, like when the Raisins girls turn evil. It's just, and no, that would be too many spoilers. Okay, but it's everything you love about South Park, everything you love about a turn-based RPG, and it just has a really well-done storyline and Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman?
Yes.
That sucker's in there?
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman's in everything.
Well, that automatically puts it on the top of the list, huh?
And in this one, so in the Stick of Truth, you had one class, and that's all you got, and you level that class up and get your skills. Okay, in this one, they have multi-classing. So I currently have 3 different classes.
So I heard a nice little gem when it comes to this, and tell me if I'm wrong. With the Fractured Butthole, is it true that the darkness of your skin will adjust the difficultiness of the game?
Indeed, that is the difficulty selector. So, like, pearlescent white is the easiest setting, and then just pitch black, like skin tone, is the hardest setting.
Never mind. Like, I was gonna go racial with that, but I'm gonna leave it alone.
You might as well because they are.
I was just gonna say like Nigerian black or what?
Pretty much, that is the depiction there, and I am, what is it? A little bit further down on the scale. I am Hispanic, like dark Hispanic is what I am.
Like
damn you, South Park.
Mocha latte.
Yeah, kind of.
Can we do shades of espresso? They now have blonde
caramel macchiato.
Yeah, there you go. Just wait.
Okay. Okay. Right on, man. So
gonna get such a PC ban.
All in all, great turn-based RPG that follows the storyline of the show, and it has all your favorite characters. And it is all the political incorrectness that you grow to love.
That's why we watch South Park.
Fantastic. All right. Nicholas, you're number 1.
Okay. This is me channeling my basic bitch.
Oh, whoa. Easy.
Sorry. My number one this year was a nice release from EA. Need for Speed Payback. Yeah, I always talk RPGs and shooters and stuff, but I have a soft spot in my heart for racing. And it's mostly just Need for Speed because the customization.
I was
you
going to
actually
say,
get cop
Need for
chases and
Speed's a
stuff.
little different than just your typical racing simulator.
And this one was actually different than any other Need for Speed. You actually build your cars accordingly to what you're wanting them to do. Like you'll have a drag car, you'll have a drift car, you'll have an off-road car, a runner, which is specifically built for cop chases. You'll have your racer, and they're all built up differently. And they included a new thing called derelicts.
Okay.
You can go around and you find derelict cars. You take them and you build them up, and that's how you get the cool cars without having to purchase them with the in-game currency. Not in-game currency you buy, in-game currency that you win throughout racing.
Right.
There are in-game currency you can buy, but you don't need to.
No booty looty box.
Yeah.
Good to know.
It's the storyline for a racing game. It actually has one, which is nice. And it's involving, and you're just like, stick it to the man. And you're like, yeah, sorry. But yeah, it was good.
Whoa, Nick, that type of profanity will not be allowed on here.
But racing game for the number one.
Yeah.
Racing
and
game.
It blew your guys' mind when I put it on there in the first place. I just got like a big capital what?
It blew my gasket a little
Discord.
bit, but thankfully I know how to repair that.
You weren't expecting it.
Nope, not really, not at all. So, my number one for 2017 comes out of left field, and I got a little late start on it. I tried it out when it started, but it did come out in 2017, so it still counts, guys. And it actually hits Matt's number two, sadly. No, I shouldn't say sadly. Resident Evil 7 deserves a high praise from Matthew, but his number two. This is my number one, and my number one is Assassin's Creed Origins. Now, immediately, right off the bat, I'd like to say that this is a fantastic, well-deserved run from Ubisoft in the franchise known for its assassins. By far, their smoothest run in a long time, from when the Wii era of every other year to within 3 titles jumping on the bandwagon of annual releases like a Call of Duty. Assassin's Creed started coming out a little too fast and too often and not getting as polished. Unity was fun after they fixed all the crap that went through. Syndicate was a missed hit because so much heat was felt for Unity that a lot of hardcore fans kind of skipped on Syndicate. Beautiful interpretation of 18th century London, and a really smooth game at that. I enjoyed that one. Assassin's Creed Origins, you can tell it enjoyed its 1 year break from being released. It got thoroughly polished. The gameplay is super smooth, no lagging. It's got a depth of RPG element progression that I have never expected from an Assassin's Creed title before. A leveling system with 3 unique classes that you can kind of mix match your whole way through. Set up in literally the origins. They went back to ancient Egypt to tell this story. I've only got a few hours in, but guys, it's my least played game out of this list, but it hit the top of my list because I feel it deserves it for the level of polish that graces the surface of this game. And I really hope to see a continued effort on Ubisoft's front to release these bi-annually and not annually. I'd love to see the next Assassin's Creed get a nice 2-year development cycle. I think that's what the franchise needs. And bottom line, I'm having a blast. And shameless plug, the week that this episode goes up, this podcast, while we're recording, I will be releasing the first couple episodes of a deep dive Let's Play series of this very title. It'll be a little personal time with me and you guys as I play through the game, and you guys get to see what exactly I enjoyed about it firsthand. But that's my number one. And so that's it, guys. I mean, we got South Park, The Fractured But Whole as Lynn's, and Resident Evil 7 for Matt's, and Need for Speed Payback, which I intend on checking out, Nick, as his number one. And
you can play through a demo for it on EA Access. You can play through the first whole 2 chapters.
Yes, absolutely. Good plug there. And Assassin's Creed Origins. I look forward to getting further into that game as the next few weeks progress. So, guys, I think that's a pretty healthy list of games. There were a lot that came out last year and a lot more coming out this year. So, I hate to cut it kind of short for our normal format of covering more than just a list. We tried to brush you guys up on our TV and movies a little bit, but we'll be coming back in a couple weeks for a full-blown traditional Nerdentials episode where we'll cover a little bit of the classic material, reviewing some shows. We'll dive a little deeper into the games and whatnot. So, anyway, guys, any closing words you want to say right now in regards to our list?
Yeah, I just gotta say they already released what their plans are for the next Assassin's Creed.
Oh, snap.
The next one's gonna be based in China.
Like, because they already did a spin-off.
Yeah, they did the small little one that's like a
side-scrolling edition. Yeah, they did
but
Russia,
they're going to do
India,
a
and China.
full-on version of it that's going to be China-based.
Nice. We'll dig up some deets and talk more at length with what we find out in the next episode, guys.
Yeah. Make sure you check us out on the YouTubes.
Yeah, so, hey, real quick, let's do some traditional where can you find us type endings. Lynn, where can people find you on the Twitterverse?
Lynn Pay to Have Fun.
Is it Lynn Pay to Have Fun or at?
It's at Lynn Pay to Have Fun.
Nicholas, where can they find you on the Twitters?
Like always, DB87.
And guys, you can find me at Mr. Blue Streak. You can also find Matthew at Madman Origins for all your personal tweeting needs. If you guys want to berate us or praise us, you decide. What was, in final closing, both YouTube and podcasters like, guys, write down in a comment below, what was your top pick for 2017 in video games? Let us know. We'd like to discuss. You can follow the group at Nerdentials.com. Sorry, at Nerdentials on Twitter. And you guys can email us with questions, comments, or feedback at nerdentials@gmail.com. We got some things in the works. We're not gone. We took a couple weeks off because of crazy family-based issues and problems, and everyone's good now.
Family comes first.
We're gonna start sailing through 2018 and bring you more good stuff. The show will continue, and we'll be putting up some Let's Play game videos on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/c/Nerdentials to hook up directly. Hit that subscribe button if you'd like to stay up to date. Better yet, hit that little bell as a reminder for when our videos upload. You get a nice little notification there.
And also, we have a Patreon account.
And yes, I cannot forget Patreon, guys. You want to support the nerds and help us build better content and more content, go ahead and go to patreon.com/Nerdentials. Become a patron today. Anyway, as for, I guess that's going to do it, guys. For Nick, Lynn, and myself, this has been your Nerdy Essentials. As always, nerds, we'll see you on the other side. Close enough.
We need to get like a metronome, or like the bouncing ladders across the screen.
It's okay. It's all okay. Lynn, there's a little bit of exposure there on your lower extremities.
It's my gut.
I'm just kidding. It wasn't serious. It was negligible.
Who needs a 6-pack when you got a keg, right?
Right?
Okay,